Hi there, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. Today I'm reading the book Possum Magic. It's written by Mem Fox and illustrated by Julie Vivers. Mem Fox is a very popular Australian author. She's written many wonderful Australian books. And Julie Vivers is a fabulous artist who really captures these animals and their personalities. Now, this book doesn't have a blurb, but I know it's about possums. And I know it's about magic, so that's got me curious and interested straight away. Let's find out what's going on in this book. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, deep in the Australian bush lived two possums. Their names were Hush and Grandma Poss. Now I'm guessing, because I know a grandma is someone who's older, that the possum with the apron on and the glasses must be Grandma Poss, and her beautiful rainbow slippers, of course, and Hush must be the young possum next to her. What do you think? I love Hush and Grandma Poss's house in the tree. Have you ever built a cubby house? I'm having a text-to-self connection and remembering all of the wonderful cubby houses I have built up in the trees. Grandma Poss made bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. I would love to see these colourful animals. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. But the best magic of all was... Imagine walking through the bush and seeing blue wombats, pink kookaburras, smiling dingoes and tiny emus. What animals have you seen out in the bush? What magic could you do to that animal? The magic that made Hush invisible. Grandma Poss had some powerful magic. This is my favourite drawing in the book. I love the magical stars and the way Hush begins to disappear. What would your favourite magic trick be? What adventures Hush had! Because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas. Oh no, Hush, you better be careful. It would not be fun to be sat on. Imagine what you could do if no one could see you. If I could be invisible, I think I would love to see people's reactions when things seem to move through the air on their own. Shopping would be so much fun. Because she couldn't be seen, she could slide down kangaroos. Hush really looks like she loves being invisible. The other animals look confused because they can probably hear and feel her, but they can never see her. Our senses are so important. Can you name all 5 of them? There's touch, taste, smell, hear, and see. Good job. Because she couldn't be seen, she was safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. What a great idea to keep Hush safe. Only I'm not sure about being invisible all the time. What do you think about that? Can you think of any problems you might have if you were invisible? Sometimes we all like to be noticed and appreciated. But one day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, "Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please, could you make me visible again?" "Of course I can," said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. Poor Hush, she has forgotten what she looks like. What does it mean to be visible and then invisible? Scientists out there will know that if you are visible, it means you can be seen. If you are invisible, you can't. Do you know what translucent and opaque mean? Translucent means you can see through the object, and opaque means you can't see through it. It's a colour and it's blocked. She looked into this book, and she looked into that. There was magic for thin, and magic for fat, and magic for tall, and magic for small, but the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. Oh no, have you ever lost something important? I know lots of children who bring special things to school and then they forget where they put it or lose it in the playground. I always say that if it is special, keep it at home in a special place. Poor Grandma Poss, Hush might have to stay invisible. Grandma Poss looked miserable. "Don't worry, Grandma," said Hush. "I don't mind." But in her heart of hearts she did. Grandma Poss looked so sad that she cannot help Hush. Have you ever wanted to help someone but you couldn't? Hush did not want to make her grandma feel bad, but she was still sad about it. Sometimes we don't always get what we want, and it's okay to be sad, but we also need to be kind because everyone makes mistakes, and in this case, Grandma was just trying to protect Hush. Can you remember what she's protecting Hush from? Yes, the snakes. All night long, Grandma Poss thought and thought. The next morning, just before breakfast, she shouted, "It's something to do with food. People food, not possum food. But I can't remember what. We'll just have to try and find out." So later that day, they left the bush where they'd always been to find what it was that would make Hush seen. I wonder if you can guess what type of people food will make Hush seen. Popcorn? Steak? Lasagna? Vegemite? Maybe ice cream? I wonder where they are going. They ate Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, Mornay and Minties in Melbourne, steak and salad in Sydney, and pumpkin scones in Brisbane. Hush remained invisible. "Don't lose heart," said Grandma Poss. "Let's see what we can find in Darwin." I love that they snuck into the movie cinema. They seem to be travelling around Australia. Activate your prior knowledge. Do you think they could ride their bike all the way around Australia? Well, they probably could, but it would take an extremely long time, and I don't remember ever seeing possums on bikes. Have you ever seen that? It was there in the far north of Australia that they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her claws and crossed her feet. Hush breathed deeply and began to eat. "A tail! A tail!" shouted both possums at once, for there it was, a brand new visible tail. I can tell by looking at this picture that Hush is not a fan of eating Vegemite sandwiches. Unless you grow up eating Vegemite, you are usually not a fan of it. It is salty and savoury, but when you get the right amount of butter on your sandwich, it is the best thing ever, and it is the first ingredient on the list that will make Hush visible, because now she can see her beautiful tail. Later, on a beach in Perth, they ate a piece of pavlova. Hush's legs appeared, so did her body. "You look wonderful, you precious possum," said Grandma Poss. Next up, Tasmania, and over the sea they went. Pavlova must be the next ingredient because I see Hush's body and arms. This is a great idea for a boat, but I am not sure about crossing the sea to Tasmania in it. What do you know about boats? Could you draw a better, safer boat for Grandma and Hush to travel in? In Hobart, late one night in the kitchen of the casino, they saw a lamington on a plate. Hush closed her eyes and nibbled. Grandma Poss held her breath and waited. "It's worked! It's worked!" she cried. And she was right. Hush could be seen from head to tail. Grandma Poss hugged Hush and they both danced. Here we go round the lamington plate till early in the morning. Can you remember the order of the food that Grandma Poss and Hush tried? First they tried Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, then Minties in Melbourne, then they went to Sydney for some steak, then to Brisbane for some pumpkin scones, then they went to Darwin for some Vegemite, then off to Perth for some pavlova, and then all the way down to Tasmania for some lamingtons. Good remembering if you got all of those right. From that time onwards, Hush was visible, but once a year, on her birthday, she and Grandma Poss ate a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and half a lamington, just to make sure that Hush stayed visible forever. And she did. I would not mind having those things every year on my birthday. Would you? Draw a picture of your favourite foods that you would like to eat on your birthday. It was wonderful to be able to read this book to you all today. It is definitely a favourite with young and old. Mem Fox published this book way back in 1983. There is a theatre company called Monkey Bar that do an amazing play of this book, and if you ever get the chance to take your children to see it, they will absolutely love it. Please comment and subscribe, and I wonder what I will read next.